Welcome everyone to the dedication of the Veterans Walkway. It has been an absolute pleasure for myself, my husband Lee, and Dan Hayes to do this project. I have to tell you, we heard the most wonderful stories you all shared with us, and it's just been an honor. There aren't words to describe what this has meant to the three of us especially. I would also like to ask every veteran to raise their hand or clap so we see you out there. I think a thank you would only kind of diminish my feelings toward all of you, so I think you know how we feel. I would like to ask Stephen Johnston to please come up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hold on. One hand, tuck. Present, hold.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you, Stephen. That was a great job. And I would like to ask John Stanton, who is a tenor, who sings with the Boston Lyric Opera, to come up and sing the national anthem.
All right. Hand, tuck. Present, hold.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, I didn't know it was dirty there. I said, maybe I liked it. And then I'm thinking maybe it was sweating.
Color guard. Present, hold.
I would have did that.
would like to now ask Deacon Richard Kovacs from St. Gregory the Great Roman Catholic Church to do the invocation.
Any second here? Thank you.
I'd like to extend my thanks to Mary and Lee and Dan for the opportunity of being here today on this very special and solemn day. You know, we come here today to honor the dead, to serve the living, like the sign says, in front of a building that has been the fabric of our lives for many, many years, as long as I can remember. So let us take a moment out and bow our heads in prayer. We ask you, Heavenly Father, to bless this walkway as a sign of remembrance to all those who have made it possible for our country to be free. These men and women who have served our country are gifts to us, and we should never forget their service to our country and to our God. Let us never forget those names on the new dedicated walkway, that they have protected us, kept us free, and we still honor them as gifts to us. So we pray, Almighty Father, you are lavish in bestowing all of your gifts, and we give you thanks for the favors you have given to us in your goodness. You have favored us and kept us safe now and in the past. Lord, continue to protect those veterans who are with us today. Shower your blessings on them. Keep those who gave their lives for us so that we can freely worship and be a nation free. We ask you to bless this walkway. Keep all those whose names are known to you in the palm of your hands. We ask this as we ask all good things in your name. Amen.
Now I'd like to welcome our first speaker, State Representative Jan Giegler from the 138th District. I would also like to say that she's a friend of mine. Come on up, Jan.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here today to recognize our veterans and also to be the daughter of a World War II Marine veteran. And to thank Lee Teichel for his vision in proposing this project and for the time and effort he, along with his wife, Councilwoman Mary Teichel and Dan Hayes of the War Memorial, made to bring this project to fruition. Today we dedicate the Veterans Walkway of Honor, which is a permanent commemorative walkway honoring those men and women who answered the call of duty either in the time of war or in the time of peace to serve our country. Each brick recognizes and honors the military service of active, reserve, and National Guard members, as well as veterans of all branches of our armed forces. Those who gave their lives for freedom, those missing in action, those who became prisoners of war, either in the past or in the present, and will serve as a means to recognize future generations of individuals who will provide loyal service to their country. I recently read the willingness of America's veterans to make a sacrifice for our country has earned them our lasting gratitude, and Danbury has done just that. It has recognized our veterans for their dedicated and loyal service through memorials, plaques, monuments, and gardens through the assistance of the Council of War Rest Veterans consisting of 6 veteran organizations. The War Memorial, honoring World War II veterans with its logo to honor the dead and serving the future living, stands tall over each of these acknowledgments of service in Rogers Park. Today it holds ceremonies for the Danbury-based 411th Civil Air Battalion who have mobilized deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. Today's Veterans Walkway will adjoin the memorial with the monuments and memorials that recognize both individuals such as Lee Hartel from Korea, who was the Congressional Medal of Honor winner, and Corporal Nathan Hitchcock, Medal of Honor in the Civil War, and branches of our armed services such as the Vietnam Monument, Korean War Monument, and the recognition of the contributions of the U.S. Merchant Marine, currently adjoining our park. A Veterans Memorial Walkway was initially dedicated July 27, 1994, by the Greater Danbury Area Chapter of the Korean War Veterans. Now, 19 years later, we are dedicating this walkway of honor. In remembering our veterans, let us not forget the courage and support given by those at home to each man and woman as they embarked on their service. as it was the pride, honor, and faith of family, friends, and community who provided them with the strength to serve. Some of those individuals are here with us today to again pay them tribute. Remember, all who serve our great nation, grant them respect and admiration, and God bless America.
Thank you, Jan. Our next speaker is someone I know pretty well. It's my husband, Lee, who is the project organizer of the Veterans Walkway.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you veterans, family, friends, and elected officials for attending this dedication of our Veterans Walkway of Honor. More than 150 years ago, Abraham Lincoln said, "Any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." Well, today we all stand here to honor our heroes. I could not be more pleased to see so many people here today who have not forgotten our veterans. In fact, it is because of your support, your generosity, and your own reasons for wanting to honor our veterans that the Veterans Walkway of Honor is no longer just a dream. Every single brick has an untold story behind it, a story of courage and honor and sacrifice. Most of these stories will never find the light of day, for only a mere few of our nation's veterans ever really talk about what they went through. The greatest strength of America's military is found in the number of men and women willing to voluntarily put their lives on the line every day to protect and serve the people of this country and those in need around the world. We are truly blessed to have the greatest military fighting force in the world today. War has changed dramatically over the years, especially with all the advancements in technology, battlefield medicine, and improved body armor. We are now able to communicate with our soldiers almost on a daily basis because of Facebook and Skype. It wasn't that way during World War II, when soldiers and family often had to rely on email to stay in touch with each other. Nevertheless, one thing has not changed. Of all the horrors of war, perhaps the worst is that some of the finest men and women of our country produces never return home to their loved ones. The choice to serve in harm's way is a brave one, and all who serve deserve our honor. So please, as you stroll along the walkway today and look for your honored hero, let these bricks be a permanent reminder of the sacrifices that our brave young men and women of the United States Armed Forces have made for us, and as a reminder that freedom is never really free, but in fact comes with a heavy price. Thank you all for your generosity and patriotic spirit.
Our guest speaker today is Thomas Quinn. He's a veteran with the 82nd Airborne Division, and he's the team leader of Danbury's very own Vet Center, and we're so lucky to have one of those in our community, and Tom leads it up, so.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank Lee and Mary for inviting me here today. I work with veterans, and I spend all day, every day of my working day with veterans. So very often on my time off, when I'm with crowds that are other than veterans, I imagine people look at me and say, I wish this guy had something else to talk about besides veterans. So it's very nice to be welcome here today where I can legitimately talk about veterans. I also like the idea when I came here today to see that this sign that says that we're honoring the veterans that have gone before us, but we're also honoring the living, the veterans that are still here. The Vietnam veteran who's sitting here, Don, said to me today how nice it was to see that there was bricks with still living veterans. And one of the things that we find at the Danbury Vet Center is that for the reasons that people serve, there's a higher honor, a higher meaning that people serve. But a lot of times the real battle is after they come home from the war. And that's when the resiliency and the strength that people develop in combat needs to really be put into action. We have seen collectively, myself and the veterans who work with me, too many veterans who spent their post-year wars sitting in apartments, hunkered down, not talking about their experience, just trying to deal with the effects of the war. So one of the messages that we give out is that there's evidence and there's proof that veterans who have served together, when they come together in recovery, it's really very powerful. My message and the message at the Vet Center is that the day that you go into the armed forces, you raise your hand and you say that I do. I will uphold the Constitution of the United States. At that point, anything that happens to you is kind of a twist of fate. You can wind up in a combat situation or a less toxic situation. But all who serve should be honored. The strength and resiliency to recover is not only incumbent on the veterans, but also their families. As I'm looking out at the crowd here and I see how hot it is, I'm reminded that when I asked Mary the other day, when I came here to speak, what I should talk about, she gave me complete autonomy to talk about anything I wanted to, just as long as it was brief. So I will be very brief and go. I think that what we do here is we recognize that what we're doing here now collectively is just a reflection of what we do in our own families. My wife and my mother-in-law are with me here today. They didn't come here just to see me, because as thrilling as I think that must be for them, you'd have to ask them. But in my home, there are two framed pictures that always go together. There's a picture of my father in his World War II Army Air Corps uniform, and there's a picture of my wife's father and my mother-in-law Shirley's husband, Sam, in his Korean Navy uniform. As families, we honor the people who went before us, and we honor them because we know that they served an ideal. It's worth mentioning for veterans that our nation is a nation that was born of war. And that war was a costly war, and it was a desperate effort. And it was a war to bring an ideal to life, and that ideal was democracy. Democracy says that we are strong enough, we are wise enough, and we are true enough for self-government. But the other side of that says that we will not be ruled. We will not be ruled. As it turns out, in the scope of history, that's a pretty bold statement. And that's a statement that requires force to back it up. And with our military, every successive generation has answered that call. So regardless of the battle, regardless of why people go, what's underlying is to protect our freedom. As has been said in many poems before, there is no social institution that is going to survive without the military. Not the politicians, not the press, not education. Nothing is going to survive without the freedom of that the military gives us. Each generation has chosen to sacrifice to keep those freedoms. If you leave here today and go home and turn on the TV, you see the 24-hour news cycle, you hear every day that democracy has died. If you vote for this person, we've given up our freedom. If you support that policy, you've given up your freedom. Well, the fact is, as long as we have democracy, we can choose what our freedom's going to be. It would be forgivable if we said that this doesn't seem to be working too well. But then when I think about Winston Churchill said that democracy is a terrible idea for government, except compared to everything else that's ever been tried in the history of the world. So our veterans keep us free, and they work every day to make sure that those freedoms are intact. As far as taking care of the veterans that we have now, that are still with us, I had an opportunity that I thought about recently. Working at the VA before I went to the Vet Center, I met a World War II veteran. And a World War II veteran came into the VA after years of not having anything to do with the Veterans Administration, not asking us for anything. He asked if we could give him a little help with some medication. As I was talking with him, I realized that this man is not going to live long enough for us to pay him back for what he's done. But yeah, we could help him with his medication. But when I was asking him about his life and what he did, one of the highlights of his week is that every Saturday morning he went to a diner and he met with other World War II veterans. He spent a day morning with World War II veterans. And I thought that was really nice after all these years. These aren't men he had served with in World War II, he had met since. But their support. When I asked him why it was so important, he said when he spoke with them, he didn't need a backstory. Whatever he said, they got it. And something else that struck me when I was talking to him is that the medication that the VA was now giving him made him a little confused. His thoughts scattered a little bit. It made him unsafe to drive. He had a wife who drove him to that diner every Saturday morning, and then she came back and she got him. And I imagine the other veterans had wives that did the same thing. and it reminds us always of the importance of family and family support. I'll just conclude by saying that if you had my job, it would be impossible to work at the Vet Center day in and day out and not be in awe of the men and women that I meet and the sacrifice that they've made and the strength of their families. We will always continue to have to answer the challenges. George Orwell famously said that gentle men and women sleep safely in our beds because rough men stand ready at night to do violence to those who would harm us. And now we have to include men and women, the role that women have played, and have always played, by the way, in the military. There are stories that go back to the Revolution and beyond about the role of women in the military. But my final thought is that the importance of families, keeping families intact. Think of these times of multiple deployments that we have now. Think of the child who's waiting for their parent to come home from a deployment and knowing that they're going to be deployed again. Think of the families that have to come together and support them, and they deserve our support as a community as well. So I'll close with saying that the Danbury Vet Center is 1 mile up the road. It's a service that is free to anybody who's been in a combat situation, and I hope to see you there. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Now we'll be presenting the donations, and Wounded Warrior Project will not be able to be here today, and I think everyone knows what Wounded Warrior Project stands for, and we will be mailing their donation to them. They're short on staff like most of our nonprofits are. So due to the weather, I will move right on to Operation Vet Fit. And I'll ask Erin Gata to please come up. And Operation Vet Fit provides free private studio fitness memberships, personal training, and group fitness programs to all local combat veterans and active duty military. So thank you very much for everything you and your husband do for our veterans. We appreciate it. Would you like to say anything?
I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of us. And this will go to all of our veterans, and we really do appreciate it. It's a very generous donation, so thank you.
Our second recipient of a check will be Help Our Military Heroes. They're also a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing the military wounded with fully equipped vehicles. HOMH is donation driven with 100% of public donations going toward vehicles. So these organizations, if you have a couple extra bucks, I'm sure they could always use it, but please come up, Lori Hollander, Ted Hollander, and Mary Beth Vanderbrecht.
It's really hot. So very, very briefly, Al Anderson from Vietnam era. Yeah, right. Sometimes we're not sure. We're all volunteers, so it depends who's around. But we just want to thank you. We've had 4 Help Our Military Heroes Spin-a-thon and Day of Fitness. It's every January. It's down the road at New York Sports Club. So for any of you who have stopped by or have never heard of us, we're local, we're here, and we're just so grateful. Blue Star moms stick together. So thanks. Go home and get in some air conditioning.
This is how we're going to roll right now. I'm going to give a brief closing, and then Dan Hayes from the Danbury War Memorial will say a few words, and then we'll actually do the dedication and undo the rock. So now you know it's coming shortly where you can get in some coolness. People have asked us over and over again who decided who the first rocks were, or bricks were in the walkway. And the first 2 veterans bricks in the walkway, I'll tell you briefly about one gentleman. His name is William Santo. William passed away without any family or friends around him. We don't know the circumstances that surrounded his death exactly, or why he didn't have people near him. But we know he passed away at the age of 74. One of our local veterans heard that he was missing, and so he went and spoke to the Director of Veterans Affairs, and they found out that he was the gentleman that was found not alive. and his body was unclaimed in the morgue in Farmington. So our local veterans, this is how amazing they are, along with Dan Jowdy from Jowdy Kane Funeral Home, put together a funeral service for William, and he was laid to rest with full military service in the veterans section of Worcester Cemetery on December 3rd, 2012. And they said there was quite a sizable crowd for this man that seemed to have no one, which is amazing to me. Well, we wanted William to know that he isn't alone anymore, that he will always have a home among his brothers and sisters in arms in this walkway. So he'll forever remind us of all the William Santos out there, and that we need to always remember our veterans. And the greatest casualty is being forgotten, and we don't want that to happen anymore. The second veteran brick with William Santo is our very own John Esposito. John Esposito not only did amazing things as a veteran, but he's been an amazing steward to the city. And I think John knows this, but I really love John Esposito quite a bit. And thank you so much for everything you've done all the years for all of us. I'll get through my thank yous as quickly as possible. Thank you to Dan Hayes, who I think we might have driven crazy, and if his hair was shorter, you'd see chunks of it falling out because we called him many times every day. To the board member Chick Volpe, again, his phone was ringing off the hook. President John Cook of the Danbury War Memorial, the Danbury Council of Veterans for their approval of the walkway and all their ideas and their advice along the way. We couldn't have done it without all of you. Thank you so much. The Danbury Police Honor Guard, thank you. Don Clady and the Connecticut Cruise News Minutemen Riders for the flag line. Mike Hallis of Hallis Farm Market for donating and delivering the dedication rock. To Dan Jowdy for making the arrangements for the mounting of the plaque, and he picked up the cost for us too. Thank you, Dan. Ned Steinmetz of Brown Monument for mounting the plaque, and he came back from vacation early just to do that. Silvio Alescas of Alescas Construction for installing the bricks and really going according to what we were asking him to do and never complained. To John Newmuller and Bob Brott for both videotaping this occasion. Thank you very much for both of you. To all of our speakers, to the Celtic, I'm going to get this wrong, to the Celtic Cross Pipe and Drums of Danbury, and to Stephen, John, Jan, Tom, all of our speakers, Ken Post for doing taps. We really appreciate it. And every single person we asked to assist us today said, sure, absolutely, we're excited, we can't wait, what an honor. So that goes to show what Danbury feels about their veterans. Now I will hand this over to Dan Hayes from the Danbury War Memorial, and I have to say, the War Memorial is way more than I ever knew it was, so please come inside, find out about the programs, find out what it's all about. It's quite amazing. This man does the job of 3 men, and I don't know, he's become a friend of ours also over this year. So please welcome Dan Hayes, and after this, refreshments inside.
Thank you. I had something longer to say, but it's all been said. Due to the heat, we're going to wrap it up. I just see all the familiar faces out there and friends and relatives, and I'm proud. I have 10 bricks in the walkway, and I'm proud to come from a family that everybody serves. Lee and Mary, they work so hard, it's not even funny. I thought I worked hard. It's like another drill sergeant. I want to thank everyone's support for the War Memorial. You know we always need help, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
July 14th, 2013. I want to thank all the veterans and God bless America.